How's it going, guys? Today I got my good buddy Claudio here. We got to know each other through a mutual vlogger, my buddy Mark from Every Man Has a Story. We've kept in touch for quite a while, and finally I'm excited to say that he is here in the Philippines where we get to hang out in person. He is an Israeli that's been living in Thailand for 5 years, and what we want to do in a two-part series is have a look at both Thailand and the Philippines for Expat. We are going to cover a number of topics, including accommodation, food, efficiency, safety, and of course, relationship and dating. So, Claudio, great to have you here.
Subscribe now.
Thank you, John.
Great. So tell me, living in Israel, what were you doing before you moved to Thailand?
First of all, I was working in the IT sector. 15 years ago, I made a career change and I went to property investment, property development. And then for financial reasons or reasons which are financial in Israel, I had to stop and it was time to retire. So I said to myself, good place to go would be Thailand, and I picked Pattaya, and I'm living there for the last 5 years.
Great, great. So since you've been living in Thailand, still in IT or doing something different?
No, only property investments in Israel. However, I bought a condominium where I live in, and I bought another condominium which I rent out for short-term tenants.
Great, great. So after 5 years living in Thailand, of course you have a lot of experience. I've been in the Philippines for 3 years, though I came here a few times the year before that. So I think we both have a decent amount of experience. No doubt both of us learning more about both countries every year. But I really want to dive in and share with people both of our thoughts about some different topics in each country. So first, what about accommodation, housing, both when it comes to living somewhere, but also if you were to go away somewhere, maybe to a resort or something like that. How have you found accommodation in Thailand?
First of all, I'm now in Cebu. It's my second time that I'm in the Philippines. First time was for 10 days, 2 years ago, Manila, Subic Bay, Angeles City. And now it's my second time for 28 days, Cebu and then Dumaguete. I do believe the standard of accommodation in Thailand is higher than in Philippines, and sometimes half the price. So in this, Thailand is a complete, advantage.
Sure, sure. For me, I gotta say, when I stayed in Thailand, I was just at one place. I was at a working conference for a lot of the times, and the accommodation was fine. What I definitely notice is that in Thailand, it seems like things are a much lower cost. I found a lot of beautiful places here, you know, especially in vacation in the Philippines, but some places could cost $200, $300 a night here in the Philippines if you're going to stay at a really nice resort. So I really find that the accommodation here is surprisingly expensive for a really nice place. Of course, you could find cheaper places as well, but then the quality might not be as high. For me, we decided to buy a condo here. Before that, we were renting an Airbnb, and I found that for just a little bit more money, I could own a condo. So for me personally, just made a bit more sense to, you know, buy a condo and pay off my own place instead of paying off somebody else's place. But here, I find that in living quarters, it really, you kind of get what you pay for. But I've been really surprised, not only when it goes to vacation places, but also just living in places, how expensive for a nice place it is per square meter. So in the US, you know, living in San Francisco before here, things were expensive, but I also had a bigger place. Here, things for what I pay per square meter. I love my place, you know, beautiful pool and gym and theater, a lot of great amenities at the condo where I own, but also you pay for it here as well. But how about Thailand for living in your own place?
First of all, I live in Pattaya, and I agree with your statement. My plan when I decided to go to Pattaya was basically to live there for 10 to 15 years. I immediately bought a condominium, which is in a very, very good area, central in Pattaya. I basically don't need a car. I bought a 80 square meter condominium, 2 bedroom, 2 bathrooms, penthouse, in a very nice condominium complex. There we have 4 swimming pools, 2 gyms, 2 saunas, parking, security, all in walking distance. And again, if I make the math, buying a condo for 10 years or 15 years, the rent that I would receive, basically after 10, 15 years, it paid for himself, and I could have designed it in the way that I want. Coming from Israel, from the property investment sector, I'm also doing architecture, so I want to live in the way that on my personal lifestyle. So if I tomorrow decide to paint all the walls in white, I can do so because I'm the owner. I don't need to call anyone up. TV. I bought brand new TVs in the way that I want, 50, 60 inch. No one is telling me what to do. I don't need to call anyone up. And the prices, I believe, are lower than here in Cebu. And
for things like TVs and things like that, or for the condo itself?
For the condo himself. And I pay also, I inquired a little bit about Cebu. So over there it would be, let's say, less than $2,000 per square meter in prime location. Again, I'm talking specifically about Pattaya. I wouldn't know anything about Bangkok. I wouldn't know anything about Phuket. Bangkok, of course, is much more expensive.
Sure.
Phuket, I'm not sure, but again, Pattaya, you get excellent value for your money. Hotels also, you can get a 5-star right on the beach, high quality. It wouldn't cost you more than $50 a night.
Yeah, it's incredible. So when it comes to this, without a doubt, I gotta concede to
accommodations, much better than Philippines.
All right, so accommodation, I'm gonna have to hand that over to Thailand. But what about food? What do you think of the food in Thailand?
I live in Pattaya. Pattaya has a high concentration of expats, which means I can eat the authentic German food, authentic Italian food, all Asian foods, Japanese, Chinese, shabushi, excellent quality, very low prices. So sure. Even in food, sorry guys, Pattaya is killing you.
All right, so come on. You see, I haven't heard my viewpoint on the Philippines yet, but okay, you're right. I really don't love a lot of the food in the Philippines, but I gotta say that that's because I'm kind of a pain in the neck. I'm vegetarian, and it's pretty meat-based culture here. If you're not eating meat, it's hard to really enjoy a lot of the best dishes here. So I gotta say, I'm not the best person to be talking about food in the Philippines, but in terms of getting a variety of, really good food here, it's kind of here, but I think it would be far more in Manila. So if I travel over to Manila compared to being here in Cebu, I definitely find, I think, more places that really have a high standard of food. Here in Cebu, there is a lot of great places. It takes a little bit of time to kind of find the lay of the land and see the great places. We had a good meal not too long ago at a great place here. And of course we got Delish Deli, got to make a little plug for the restaurant we got over here as well. But overall, I gotta say, I've been a little bit disappointed with the food here, and it's really expensive, So for me, I love things like Mexican food that I really miss living in California, and even for something like some good nachos. There's a place that I had that at not too long ago. It was like 800 pesos. It's like $16 practically for nachos. I mean, you go to a Mexican food place in the US and chips and salsa are free. So some of those things, I gotta admit, it hasn't been great. When I went to Thailand, I didn't find food that I really loved over there either, but I gotta say I was only there for 14 days. So when you're at somewhere for a shorter time, it's hard to find the best places. If I was living there for 5 years, I'm sure that I'd have a much better experience. And without a doubt, all the expats that I talked to really love the food in Thailand. So I feel like I'm letting the Philippines team down, but I think I gotta concede food. to Thailand as well, not just for variety, but the cost is really so much lower.
And the quality. Because most steaks that you eat in Thailand are actually imported from Australia.
Yeah.
And there I have a German restaurant where they have an excellent steak, 300 gram, and is around 800 peso.
Yeah, and the thing is you haven't been in the Philippines as long as I had. I could easily show you a butcher and lots of restaurants that also has Australian or Japanese, other imported beef. That's great. So it is here, but you're really going to pay for it. It's expensive. All right, so moving on to a little bit more of a boring topic. Let's talk about efficiency in everyday life. I know that's a really broad topic. For me, when I think of efficiency in the Philippines, I'm thinking about if I need to get a driver's license or if I need to go to the bank and stand in line. Very broad, topic. What's it like trying to process things and get things done? For me here, overall, that has been pretty slow trying to get a lot of these things done, and I've really found that the way for me to manage it and not lose any more hair, because I don't have any more left to lose, is to outsource some of that work. So I'm really fortunate that my wife has a lot more patience than I do, and some employees have a lot more patience than I do, and so that's a way for me to get around pretty inefficient system here with a lot of things. But what about in Thailand? What's your experience with efficiency been?
No, I think Thailand is very efficient. First of all, when you go to a restaurant, the waitress comes immediately. The food you get very, very quick, and especially when you go with two people, we get together the food, not one separate and then the other one needs to wait for 10 minutes. That's for the restaurant, so very efficient. Banking, very efficient, but you need to know which branch to go. It's depending on the person who's serving you, if they're efficient and if they know English. In general, also the bank applications that I have on my phone, very, very efficient.
So everything you're telling me, everything in Thailand is efficient. I find that hard to believe.
No, yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. The minute that you deal with construction, for example, construction or maintenance, I had a guy for air conditioning need to come to change a certain part. So I arranged with him 11:30 in the morning. That's what he told me. Suddenly calls me up at 10:30, I'm here.
Right.
An example. They couldn't speak any English. Then 3 people show up instead of 1. He's got the screwdriver hanging out in the back from his pants, turns around, scratches the wall. So again, a painter, he wouldn't take out the spotlights in the ceiling, it just paints on top of it and tells you afterwards, don't worry, I will clean it afterwards, which of course he never does.
Sure.
But again, I'm self-efficient in this. These are only stories that I hear from other people because I'm doing all myself.
Sure, sure. I mean, my dad lives in Thailand as well. They built a house there, and it was a bit of a nightmare for them to get the house built and done. Took months and months longer than expected. So,
right, but there's a way around it because we have a lot of Facebook groups. Expats living in Pattaya. Some of them are English or American or even German, and we share our experience and we use it mainly for food recommendations, handymans, repairs, whatever we need, and we do cooperate.
Sure.
So the one who provide us with excellent service, we comment them and we use them. Again, for banking, I always go to people that I know that are highly efficient, and then I continue to do them.
Yeah.
Driver's license, for example. I had an international driver's license. I converted it already to Thai. I call up a service person who is specializing for immigration visas and driver's license. It's a little bit more expensive. She's doing everything. I was picked up from her with her car from my condominium, was drive down 20 minutes to the register for the driver's license. Cost me like, 6,000 peso or 8,000 peso, and I had few hours later, my Thai international driver's license.
Sure. So same thing here in the Philippines. If you pay people that is their business,
Correct.
It's also very efficient over here. So I think in both countries you could pay more to kind of go around the system or to pay people that are really embedded in a particular part of the system.
Absolutely.
I really think of efficiency though as what is a country like if you don't do those things. For example, in Israel or for me in the US, chances are we don't need to pay people to do a lot of those type of things.
Correct.
Seems to me though in both countries you have to just maybe spend a little bit more to find professionals in those areas to be able to help out with things. So for this one with efficiency, I might give it a tie. So another thing for us to look at in both countries is communication. How do you find it is trying to communicate to people in Thai in English?
Philippines, definitely. Everybody speaks English. No problem communicating. Pattaya, they speak a little bit more English than any other area.
Is that because there's a lot of foreigners there?
Correct. But still, very, very difficult. But there is a way to test it. So I can give you an example. You can test how well they know English. You would just tell them, what do you prefer, chicken or pork? Her answer would be yes.
Right.
Because they don't understand the prefer.
Or maybe she loves both.
I said, what do you prefer?
Sure.
So there's only this or this, but that's the way how to test them. So their English capabilities is very, very limited. They always make the same grammar mistake. Me hungry, me sleepy, me go room her or whatever. It's very, very basic. So again, most jokes that I make with them, they would not understand.
Sure.
And the men are even worse English than the women in Thailand. Over here, no problem with communication, all very, very friendly, no problem.
Yeah, so for me in the Philippines, I really find it's very easy to communicate to 99% of people. Maybe there's occasionally somebody that's a little older that doesn't speak as good English, but I understand because my Bisaya or Tagalog is also terrible. So, I'm in their country trying to do my best to learn a little bit of the language here, but I'm really fortunate living in the Philippines because they really understand English extremely well. The interesting thing for me is that a lot of Filipinos I find are a little shy to speak to foreigners because they feel like their English isn't good enough. But if they just knew how good their English was compared to so many other countries, I feel Filipinos should be really proud and confident of their English speaking abilities. And I find the same thing as you. It's really easy to talk to people over here.
Did you try to learn Philippine?
Yes. So before I moved here, I was trying to learn a bit of Tagalog, which is the national language. And my thinking at the time was that everybody speaks Tagalog, even though there's a lot of languages here. I'll be speaking a language that everybody understands. But what I didn't realize is that in Cebu, nobody speaks Tagalog. Where I am, everybody speaks Cebuano, Bisaya.
Right.
And so if it comes to conversations and different things like that, and I don't understand Bisaya, I might as well not have learned any Tagalog. It's almost useless. And of course there's crossover between Tagalog and Bisaya words that a lot that are exactly the same. And even Spanish words, that I'm used to from living in California are very similar. Since I've been here, I have, sought to learn Bisaya, Gamay, just a little bit, and I suck at it, but it's, I'm a work in progress. It's really my dream to be able to speak and understand Bisaya fluently and Tagalog as well, just so anywhere I
speak Spanish, so I could understand a little bit. Now concerning Thai language, forget about it. You will never be able to learn it. Not only this, you would have one word, which is, for example, may. If you say may, it's got 10 different meanings. You will never pick it up and you will always say something wrong. So I'm giving up on this.
Sure.
I would prefer, if you have a Thai girlfriend, to improve her English instead me trying anything to learn. After 5 years living there, I believe I know 10 words, which is more than I need. Which is, good morning, we don't have it, we run out of it. Basic, that's it.
Sure. So communication is for sure. Philippines wins all day long on that one. Something very related is friendliness. So how do you find people are in Thailand when it comes to friendliness?
I think they're very friendly, especially if they get to know you a little bit. Now again, I'm not a tourist. So I live there, they already see me around and they know, oh no, he's not a tourist. So he lives here. So he already made a commitment. Every year it's getting better because again, they know I'm there, very, very friendly.
What about when you first meet them? Or if you're a stranger on the street and you go up to talk to somebody that you never met before?
If it's a nice looking female, then they would be very friendly. Men, I would say, if they can get something out of me, like their taxi or something, then they would talk to me. If not really. But I think it's more that because Pattaya, I live in a tourist area, and people are trying to figure out, are you a tourist or not a tourist? And people, especially the ladies, they only look at you, they know you live here or you're a tourist. Maybe because of the sandals, or especially I already know how to, if I see someone, if he's a tourist or not, especially when the Germans are coming, wearing sandals and socks up to their knees, you know that's a tourist.
Right,
So
for sure.
all the ladies, they know me, the way that I dress and everything, they know I live here. They treat me differently. They know exactly, you cannot scam him, you cannot try ask for money for buying something, because they know me, and then they change a little bit and become real friendly.
Right.
But again, for Philippines, I think Philippines are very, very friendly. They see that you're smiling, that you have a kind face. You can talk to anyone. If it's a 16-year-old or 70-year-old person. Today in the morning in my hotel I was saying hello to a lady. She was 70 years old. She just looked at me and smiled again. Very, very friendly.
Yeah.
So Philippines, definitely.
Yeah. For me as well, I think it's a clear winner in the Philippines. From the first day I came here, I didn't want to go back to the US, and a huge part of that was I just found Filipinos so friendly, sweet, kind, respectful, and I still find that to this day. Once you live in a place for years, you see that there's more going on behind the scenes, and you don't just see the first impression. And so of course there's different people here as well, but for me, I've never been to a country or met a group of people that I found as friendly, just really as kind and respectful as Filipinos. And for me, that's one of the very top reasons why I'm here, is because I just really love the people. I think that when it comes to friendliness, the other aspect of that is making friends. And I find that even though people are very friendly here, it is a little bit of a challenge for me to make friends, even though I'm also a pretty friendly guy. And so I think that sometimes there's cultural barriers and different things like that. I find Filipinos a little bit shy to get to know foreigners. I almost feel like sometimes some Filipinos will think more highly of foreigners than each other. And I don't think that should be the case. I think Filipinos should be very proud of who they are, especially when it comes to being so kind and friendly. But in terms of making good friendships here, I'm really happy to have a very small group of close Filipino friends. But after a few years, it's a pretty small group of close Filipino friends. And so that's something that's still a work in progress for me. What about making friends?
But you have an advantage because you're married. From there, you already have a social life. For me, and I would say in Pattaya, first of all, we have a very, very big expat community from all different nations. But they're also coming from different levels, which is different groups. One are from retirement age, which is 64 upwards. Pattaya is very funny. I sometimes sit in a coffee place and I do people watching. It's basically like a zoo. And you have your bodybuilder type, the tattoo guys, they're all walking groups. You have your tourists who start drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning. You've got the other guys who come at 8 o'clock, and I don't know if they're going for breakfast or just went out of the bar, finished the evening. So also difficult to make friendships. I have a few friends which are also living there for many years, but I believe we're all in the same age group and the same educational level.
Sure.
With Thai, it's something else, because most people who are Thais, or they limit in English or in the field that we are.
Great. Well, guys, for this episode, we're going to leave it there. For this episode in part 2, we're going to talk about other things like safety in both countries, work or business, and also dating and relationship. Claudio, it's been great having you here with us, and look forward to talking to you next time.
Thank you for having me.
As always, guys, thank you for taking the time to watch. Take care.